Let's see if we can calculate what 5/6 plus 1/4 is. And to help us, I have a visual representation of 5/6 and a visual representation of 1/4. Notice I have this whole hole, I guess you could say, broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections, and we've shaded in 5 of them. So this is 5/6. And then down here we have another hole, and we have 1 out of the 4 equal sections shaded in, so this is 1/4. And I want to add them. And I encourage you at any point, pause the video and see if you can figure it out on your own. Well, whenever we're adding fractions, we like to think in terms of fractions that have the same denominator, and these clearly don't have the same denominator. But in order to rewrite them with a common denominator, we just have to think of a common multiple of 6 and 4, and ideally the smallest common multiple of 6 and 4. And the way that I like to do that is I like to take the larger of the two, which is 6, and then think about its multiples. So I could first think about 6 itself. 6 is clearly divisible by 6, but it's not perfectly divisible by 4. So now let's multiply by 2. So then we get to 12. 12 is divisible by both 6 and 4. So 12 is a good common denominator here. It's the least common multiple of 6 and 4. So we can rewrite both of these fractions as something over 12. So something over 12 plus something over 12 is equal to. Now there's a bunch of ways to tackle it, but what I want to do is I just want to visualize it here on this drawing. So if I were to go from 6 equal sections to 12 equal sections, which is what I'm doing if I'm going from 6 in the denominator to 12 in the denominator, I'm essentially multiplying each of these sections by, or I'm essentially multiplying the number of sections I have by 2, or I'm taking each of these existing sections and I'm turning them into 2 sections. So let's do that. Let me see if I can do it pretty neatly. So I can do it a little bit neater than that. So it'll look like that. And then, whoops, let me do this one. I want to divide them fairly close to evenly. I'm doing it by eye, so it's not going to be perfect. So then you have that one, and then last but not least, you have that one there. And then notice, I had 6 sections, but now I've doubled the number of sections. I've turned the 6 sections into 12 sections by turning each of the original 6 into 2. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 sections. So if I have 12 sections now, how many of those 12 are now shaded in? Instead of having 5 of the 6, I now have 10 of the 12 that are shaded in. So I now have 10 twelfths. 5/6 is the same thing as 10 twelfths. Another way you could have thought about that, to go from 6 to 12, I had to multiply by 2. So then I have to do the same thing in the numerator. 5 times 2 is 10. But hopefully you see that those two fractions are equivalent. That I didn't change how much is shaded in. I just took each of the original 6 and I turned it into 2, or I multiplied the total number of sections by 2 to get 12. And then instead of having 5/6, I now have 10 twelfths shaded in. Now let's do the same thing with the 4, with the 1/4. Right here I've depicted 1/4, but I want to turn this into something over 12. So to turn it over something over 12, each section has to be turned into 3 sections. So let's do that. Let's turn each section into 3 sections. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So then I have 1, 2, and 3. I think you see where this is going. 1, 2, and 3. I have 1, 2, and 3. And so notice, all I did is I multiplied, before I had 4 equal sections, now I turned each of those 4 sections into 3 sections, so now I have 12 equal sections. And I did that essentially by multiplying the number of sections I had by 3. So now what fraction is shaded in? Well, now this original that was 1 out of the 4, we can now see is 3 out of the 12 equal sections. It's now 3 out of the 12 equal sections. And so what is this going to be? Well, if I have 10 twelfths and I'm adding it to 3 twelfths, well, how many twelfths do I have? I'm going to have 13 twelfths. And you could see it visually over here as well. Up here in green, I have 10 twelfths shaded in. Each of these boxes are a twelfth. Let me write that down. Each of these boxes are 1/12. That's 1/12. This is 1/12. So how many twelfths do I have shaded in? I have the 10 that are shaded in green, and then I have an 11th twelfth, a 12th twelfth, and then finally a 13. The 13th twelfth is one way to think about it.